curious to me. To actually move properties from a trust across to a PTY limit, what are the pitfalls involved in that? Because I'm sure there's a number of other people in a similar situation.
Look, the pitfalls is, if the municipal value for starters is in excess of 750,000 Rand, for starters you're going to pay transfer duty. Now let's say, for argument's sake, the municipal value is $1 million, then you're going to pay 1% on $1 million less 750, which gives you 250, which is 1% of 250,000 Rand. Okay, it's not a lot of money, but still, it is a few bucks. Which, by the way, is very nice for capital gains tax, because it reduces your capital gain, but okay. So it all depends, again, on what your taxation situation is. If you're in trouble with the tax, then you increase those expenses and that sort of thing. Now, and then there's another pitfall, and that is, if you have a bond over that property which is sitting in the trust, and you've only paid off 5% in capital, then it is ludicrous to then sell it from the trust to the company in which it holds the shares and go and get a bond for 95% of that. Because the costs involved, and I'm going to show you, the cost involved in moving that property will push it over the 100% again. And it doesn't make financial sense. What you would then have to do is you would have to sell that property from the trust to the company per ALA. Chapter 2 of the Alienation of Land Act. Okay, good. Okay, if we have a look at the next one, dividends tax. We've already dealt with this. Do I need to deal with this again? Okay. We spoke about the interest-free loans. And here is what you mentioned. If you actually go ahead and you declare a dividend, which, as I said, you should never have to do, then that's the result. You pay your 28% tax, plus, in effect, you pay your dividends tax. Effectively, it takes you to an effective rate of 38.8%. And this is why estate planning and tax planning is so important. Because if you do that, then you might just as well pay the 41% tax in the trust. Okay. There's the SBC tax that you asked me about it. You cannot get that if it's residential property, which, by the way, would be different if it's commercial property or industrial property. But we invest in residential property. Okay, there you go. There are the SARS interest rates. The important one is the official rate, 7.75%. And if you pay your taxes late, etc., okay? Here's your transfer duty. Okay. Good. That one we've already dealt with. Okay, here's the ALA. Whom of you have never heard of the Alienation of Land Act, ALAs? Are you serious? You're not reading the communication from us, are you? Whom of you actually do not get our emails? Please phone the office on Monday, because there's obviously one of two problems. Either that your email address is incorrect in our system, or it might be that it ends up in your junk mail. Okay, so please phone the office on Monday, make sure. What do you do if you want to buy that BMW 730D? It costs 1.6 million rand. You now want it. So you go to them and you say, I love this car, but I don't have 1.6 in my back pocket. They say, no problem. We're not interested in your balance sheet, but we would like to see your income and expenditure and your pay slip. They say, no, sure. You can afford 30 grand per month. Which, by the way, translates to 6 investment properties of 500,000 rand each. Now, and they say, we'll give a credit. They say to you the following. You can have it, you can drive it, you can even live in it. And if you're really adventurous, you can lend it to your teenage son. You have to insure it. You have to pay the installments. That type of car, you have to park it overnight in a lock-up garage. You have to maintain it. You have to have it serviced. But it's not yours. It'll become yours when you have paid installment number 60. Or nowadays it goes up even to 72 or something like that. Is that right? So once you have paid that final installment, that car belongs to you for the first time. That's the ALA for land. How does it work? Let's have a look. Lovely? There we go. It's as simple as this. I bought a property 3 years ago for 500,000 rand from Bianca. The interest rate that I got was prime. Let's just say my installment was 5 grand. 3 years down the line, for some reason, I don't want it anymore. Or let's say I lost my job. I've been retrenched. I cannot afford it anymore. I literally still owe the bank more or less 500,000 rand. You agree? I have another 17 years, and I am really concerned that the bank is going to sell it from under my backside on my behalf. So I go to Bianca, I say, okay, you can buy it. And I will sell it to you at 500,000 rand, payable in installments at 10.5% interest, or whatever the prime rate is from time to time, over the next 17 years. You will not take actual ownership at this point in time. You will have the right of possession and use and enjoyment, which means you will get the rental income, you will pay the levy, you will pay the municipal tax, as if you are in fact the registered owner. And you will pay the installment of 5 grand directly into my bond account, so that you can make sure I don't buy ice cream with it when you pay it into my check account. And what do we also do? We take that contract, we get the original title deed, and we have this contract recorded against the original title deed in the deeds office, which means I can never sell this property behind Bianca's back on the slide to Andrew, because the receiver of revenue will not, the registrar of deeds will not allow that transfer, because there's a rubber stamp on that original title deed that says the only person who can take transfer of this property is Bianca. Over and above that, in terms of the provisions of the Alienation of Land Act number 68 of 1981, the bank is by law prohibited from granting further credit in respect of that bond to me. If the bank does, they cannot recoup it in terms of the bond which they have over the property. Nice, isn't it?
Once you've done the owner of the property for the 17 years reaches.
As the owner of the property. Okay. One of the interesting things is, sorry, your name, sir?
Lundu.
Lundu. Lundu or Lundu? T. Lundu. The question is, Lundu says, what if the seller dies whilst this property is still being paid off? Lundu